this debate. My husband's home trying to watch it.
Okay.
So I'm actually like it doesn't watch it for except for personal. I was not asking if you do like feedback for each other, but I realized
So it's the
Pretty sure that's how I have it oriented.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Cassie and I'm presenting the affirmative constructive argument among my teammates Stratton, Jake, and Daniel. The resolution is zoos should be banned. We define a zoo as a faculty where wild animals are confined within enclosures and displayed to the public. Animals in captivity never have as much space as animals in the wild. My first argument is that zoos should be banned because they do more harm than good for animals. Animals in zoos are not free to express their natural instincts like where they go breeding with the mate of their choice or killing their prey. This means that the animals don't get to be themselves or choose how they live. Most zoo breeding programs sell their animals to other zoos, circuses, petting zoos, and the exotic breeds. Arguments for and against zoosbound.com. This means that animals are being forced to breed and then those babies are being taken and put right back into captivity in other zoos and circuses. Therefore, my team and I will prove that zoos should be banned.
Hi, my name is Harper Olson, and I'm arguing the negative constructive against the resolution that zoos should not be banned, along with my teammates Audrey, Bear, and Blake. First, zoos should not be banned because they do more good than harm for animals. Cassie said that zoos are making animals breed, but that's not true. Chinese and European zoos bred an Asian type of deer that had become extinct in the wild, and for this they were released back into the wild where they are now self-sustaining. And were stopped into our online encyclopedia 2008. This means that zoos are helping animal species from not becoming extinct. Did you know visiting a zoo let people observe that every animal is unique with different personalities and behaviors, even between the same species? Sci 2013. This is important because animals are unique in different ways. Therefore, zoos should not be banned.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I will be filling in for my teammate, Stratton. And I am representing the affirmative rebuttal argument supporting the resolution that zoos should be banned. The first argument is that zoos do more harm than good for animals. Some zookeepers abuse animals because they can't afford them. This means that because they can't afford food and necessary items for animal survival, the zookeepers become aggressive toward the animals. Many animals held in captivity develop zoochitis, which is a normal behavior like pacing, vomiting, and harming themselves, and excessive licking. This means that animals in captivity get sick just because they are trapped. A zookeeper in Seattle was caught feeding an elephant named Chai with bullhooks and pieces of wood for 2.5 hours because they couldn't afford necessary items for Chai and some of his fellow elephants. This means that zookeepers are retorting defiance toward some animals. Therefore, zoos should be banned.
Hi, my name is Audrey and I'm arguing the negative rebuttal against the resolution. My argument is that zoos should not be banned. First of all, zoos should not be banned because they are good for animals. Zoos educate and motivate humans to care for all wild animals by giving them direct contact with the animals, which is more powerful than simply watching a movie or reading a magazine article about the animals. The Guardian 2013. This means that all humans that go to the zoo should pay attention to the animals. Visiting zoos lets people observe that every animal is unique with different personalities and behaviors that even vary between different animals of the same species. Sci Ed 2013. This is important because it makes us care about the animals. The affirmative side argued that animals get sick because they are trapped in captivity. This is not true. Therefore, this is why zoos should not be banned. Hi, my name is Jake, and I will be presenting the third affirmative argument that zoos should be banned. David William Mitchell, spokesman for the European Association of Zoos 2014, said
there are at least 7,500 up to 200,000 extra animals in European zoos, and thousands of those animals are killed every year to save money. This means that they are killing animals just to save money. People for the ethical treatment of animals said that Oregon Zoo, a 5-year-old baby elephant named Rose 2 suffered 176 gashes and cuts after being repeatedly beaten with a bull hook. This means that animals are getting disciplined for no reason because they aren't moving for their keepers. Last chance for animals said in the wild, animals develop immunities to naturally occurring illnesses, but zoo animals catch viruses that they never encounter in the wild. This means that animals get viruses in zoos that they never encountered. International Zoos News 2004 said 1/2 of all animal lion cubs in zoos die before they reach 1 month of age. In the wild, more than 3/4 of all lion cubs reach 6 months of age. This means that most animals live longer in the wild than in zoos. Imagine being captured and put in a cage and being sent to a zoo somewhere you've never been and only being able to pace. This is what happens to animals in the zoo. Born Free, all about animals, said many animals held in captivity develop zoonosis, which is abnormal behavior like pacing, vomiting, harming themselves, and excessive looking. This means that animals get a disease that makes them hurt themselves. Therefore, zoos should be banned.
Hi, my name is Boyd and I'm presenting the negative team's final argument. And we will convince you that zoos should not be banned. Zoos should not be banned because they do more good than harm for animals. Zoos that save animals that are hurt or injured. Did you know that Zoota right here in Logan saves animals that have been hurt and would not be able to survive on their own? This shows that without zoos, hurt animals would not be able to survive. Zoos that breed animals keep animal species from going extinct. The Fort Worth Zoo saved the Texas horned frog from going extinct, and many other U.S. zoos rescue wild animals. This means that endangered species was saved because of zoos. Zoota and Logan saved a hurt eagle that could not fly. Since that eagle could not fly, where would it go for safety if it was being hunted? This means that our national bird was saved because of our local zoo. Therefore, zoos should not be banned.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I will be presenting the final affirmative argument, and I'm going to be telling you the reasons why zoos should be banned. Did you know that tigers and lions have 18,000 times less space in zoos than in the wild? Guardian, 2003. If you were limited like that, it would be like 60 steps. Animals fare worse in zoo enclosures than almost anywhere else. At the Oregon Zoo, a 5-year-old elephant named Rose 2 suffered 176 gashes. People for ethical treatment of animals. Do you see why this is such a problem? If not, I will show you. Teach yourself to room. When you come out, you will be about 4 years older. Next time you come out, you will be about 6 years old. This will go on and on. This is what animals have to endure because of us. We must change this. Another reason is that almost 1/2 of all lion cubs die before they reach 1 month of age, and in the wild, 3/4 of all lion cubs survive to be 6 months old. International Zoos, 2004. These are only some of the reasons why zoos are not beneficial to animals. And there's lots more where that came from. Did you know that elephants in the wild travel as far as 30 miles per day, while zoos are required to have an outdoor space as small as 40 by 45 feet? That's as small as 4 garages. Do you know that the Seattle Woodland Park Zoo owned an elephant named Shy to the Dick Harrison Park Zoo in Missouri, where witnesses saw her being beaten with bull hooks and pieces of wood for 2.5 hours? Did you know that people have died from animal incidents? The number of people that have died and injured is bears, 6 human deaths, over 55 injured. Big cats, 23 human deaths and over 255 humans injured. Elephants, 17 deaths and over 135 humans injured. Playmates, 1 human death, 220 humans injured. Will you be next? Are you going to stand for this? A study of over 700 visitors at the National Zoo, Washington, D.C. found that almost 60% of visitors' time was spent walking between exhibits and 10% was spent eating, and the majority of the rest of the time was spent on resting, bathroom breaks, and shopping in the zoo store. They aren't even doing anything. So what's the point in zoos? All they're doing is taking animals and making them do nothing. How do you feel someone did that to you?
My opponent says that zoos should be banned, but we disagree because zoos save animals that can no longer live in the wild, and they release animals back in the wild that have been rehabilitated. Therefore, in conclusion, zoos should not be banned.
Okay, the judges are going to defer for a minute and then they'll give you your feedback. You guys did it. You're done. You just have to wait to hear from the judges, okay?
That was incredible.
So great, aren't they? You guys.
I think it's because holding addressing the opponents and then directly clashing is really, really good.
In the past, I think there is.
Do you want to start with your feedback? Let's start with feedback.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good job, you guys. That was awesome. Do you guys want general feedback? I wrote pretty much all of it down, but do you want to go over it? All right. Yeah, we can do that. So I'll probably just go like, do we just want to do person by person?
Yeah.
That's fine. So Cassie, you had great volume and I really liked your diction. Like you enunciated your words very well. It was really easy to understand everything you were saying. I really liked how you set up the argument. It was just, it was really well set up for your teammates so that they could, you just set up the framework, like defined zoos, stuff like that. Like that's great. That's great for an opening argument. I think that's most of my notes.
Yeah, Cassie, I know that it's hard being the first speaker, and I love the way that you introduced your argument, made it really clear to us what we were going to be talking about. And then the way that you said the argument allowed your teammates to build off that, which demonstrated excellent teamwork. I think that was really good. You had a great speaking. You spoke directly towards the audience. I didn't take any points off for it, but eye contact makes it a lot more engaging. And so if you want to make your argument more compelling to us, then you should be looking up your paper some of the time. But I know it's hard early on. It was an excellent speech. Like, congratulations, all of you. That was so impressive, especially from elementary schools. I've seen people who talk like that as high up as high school. And so I'm just really impressed with all of you.
Jake, let's see. Oh, I loved your statistics, and the sad stories that you brought up, and the argument about viruses I thought was really unique. I hadn't thought about that before. And my one piece of feedback would be just to slow down a little bit when you're reading. It was just a little bit hard to understand you sometimes. Yeah, that's what I have for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. Can I go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jake, I think that was. I want to just point out that you have a notably good argument. I thought that was really impressive, and you brought up a lot of points and built on Cassie's argument really well. And the way you gave it made me really think about your argument and what you were trying to say. And you brought up a lot of points in a short period of time. I might have caught some sources. I'm not entirely sure. If you added some that you could enunciate more, that would have been great. And the one thing that I think that you should work on is enunciating. Sometimes when you were reading, you would just continue over periods or commas. And when you really make your impact known by stopping and pausing and using and making your voice louder or lower, depending on what you want us to focus on, that would be great. But excellent argument, really, really well set up, and great teamwork with Cassie. And then we're going to move on to Daniel. Daniel, I am so impressed by your speaking skill. The way that you stood up and faced us and then looked up every time you wanted to make sure that we got a point through, that was incredible. And you used the tone shifting. You made sure that you were louder when you wanted us to focus on something, and you made sure that you were quieter when you didn't want us to spend the time thinking about that. That was great. But my one little piece of constructive evidence is that you did reiterate a couple of Jake's points a few times, and so bringing up some new evidence would have been really great. But congratulations for filling in your teammate. I know that it's got to be hard to have to speak twice. I'm so impressed by your speaking skills. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I love the emphasis that you added on certain words. Like, it was very this is important. I need you to listen to this. And yeah, mostly the same thing is it's not a bad thing to kind of refer back to your teammates' evidence that they brought up earlier, but especially making sure that you do it in a new way and that it's done uniquely, because it did feel a little bit redundant. But yeah. And yeah, okay. Harper, I really loved your rhetorical question when you were talking and you were like, did you know that all animals are unique? And that especially just really stood out to me. It was just kind of asking rhetorical questions is a strong way to kind of get the audience and your judge thinking a little bit more about what you want them to be thinking about. So that was one of my favorite parts from your argument. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit louder. It's a little bit hard to hear you sometimes. So yeah.
Harper, I think that was a great hook. Your argument was really well written. The way that you had set it up gave us a clear roadmap of what to follow on, and it was a great base for your team to build off of. Same with Cassie, but I love the way that you gave us a question to start by engaging us, the rhetorical question, like Naomi mentioned. Again, I do have to just reiterate her point of being louder. I know it's got to be hard because you guys are still small, but just speaking up it means the world to a lot of people, and it helps me understand everything that you're trying to say. But excellent job. I loved your speaking. Audrey, I also want to point out that you had a really, really good argument, and I love that you clashed with the opponent. You directly addressed their argument and gave your own argument to counter that. That is an excellent skill, and I hope you keep refining that. Again, really well written argument, and I also want to point out that it was really good of you to be working with your teammates. I saw you guys high five earlier. Motivating your teammates is a great part of debate, and it's important to keep the morale high. And so I just wanted to point that out and say that you do a good job.
Yeah, my biggest thing for Audrey, I think, is that I really loved your speaking voice. And your eye contact. You made eye contact. I loved that. So yeah, I felt like you had a really good speed and good pauses, and I heard a little bit of emphasis on certain words, and you looked up every now and then, which can be really hard to do when you're reading off a paper. So that was probably the thing I was most impressed about when you were speaking.
Oh, I also heard your sourcing, Audrey. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. That was really good that you mentioned your sources and told us where it was from. That's great. Okay. Boyd, I want to point out I think that your strongest part of your speaking skills is your argument. That was a really well-written speech, and I'm so glad that you said, my opponent said this and then responded to that. The clash is really, really great. It helped for a more engaging argument, and it was great for finishing off the debate as well. Also, your closing was really good. I'm glad that you kept it short and sweet and didn't say anything that you didn't have to. I think that's good. You should be able to know when you've said everything you need to and finish it off right there. Teamwork was excellent, and presentation was pretty good too. I would say a little bit more eye contact, but I know that can be difficult.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of the same stuff. I think one of my favorite points that you brought up was just like the way you really focused on how the zoos could help the animals. I just felt like that was really that was really strong, especially in comparison to what the affirmative team was bringing up. The way that you structured that argument, I thought was really well done.
Oh yeah, I would also like to point out for you, sorry, but that you're bringing Utah into this and talking about a zoo that you've experienced yourself really helped us form an emotional connection to your argument, and I thought that was a really good move. So that was great.
That being said, it really was really close. But at the end of the day, I think we'd give it to the neg, mostly because we felt like they did they really excelled at building off of each other's arguments and just like.
Yeah. So the only reason that I ever flipped the neg and decided that they should be winning is because, like, don't get me wrong, you guys are all excellent speakers, great presentation, great argument. However, my one issue was that you did bring up the same points a couple times, which gave them an easy advantage to capitalize on bringing up new points. And so if you can have a diverse list of arguments that you can choose from, then it makes a much more compelling argument. But it was really close, and you guys did great. Don't get me wrong.
Thank you so much.
That was really inspiring, guys.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.